I'm actually going to drink this. I'm not sitting here just for pose. I'm actually going to drink it. Yeah, I know. Everybody else just kind of sits it there. He's a good man. No. It'd be monster if it was.
All right, we'll get started with a quick opening statement from Coach, and we'll jump into questions.
First of all, I'm so glad y'all are here. Exciting time. I did sleep a little bit last night because the women behind the brand was such a great atmosphere, and that I had to match their energy, so I used a little extra because they were all fired up. And not surprised because West Texas women are just like this football team. They're really tough, and they're excited about football. And so really excited about today. Guys, right now they're in a rolling lunch, and then we start meetings. This first part of the day is checking a lot of boxes, and then we get into our team meetings and really let them see the schedule and what it looks like. And we've had a great summer. We are a very strong football team. We have made great strides in the weight room. I saw it coming in the spring, but what Lance and his staff has done in the weight room has been incredible. I think you're going to see that when you see us take the field or when you come to practice. We've got some guys that really look good, and they're in great shape. Attitude-wise, I've said this. I know y'all have heard me. I really felt like this team was going to buy in, but, man, we're in such a great place. I mean, if y'all had, like, behind the scenes, and, I'm sure you'll see some videos today, but whenever they come in this room, there's going to be a lot of guys hugging each other and excited to see each other, and they've only been away from each other for a week. And so just being away from each other a week, they're still really excited to see each other. So I'm excited about the attitude that we have team-wise. Just to put a plug in, because I want to make sure on September 3rd that the Jones is rocking. We've got tickets available. This is a great time to get those tickets. I've seen it in basketball, and I promise you the product that we're going to put on the field is going to get you excited. So there's no reason to wait. There's no reason to, be halfway in or put your toe in. You need to jump all the way in and get your tickets, as soon as possible. I want to cover a couple guys that won't be in camp, and then we'll go into questions. Bryce Robinson will not be in camp. He is still injured. That is from the bowl game, and he's not fully back, but doing a great job, way ahead of schedule, but the schedule wouldn't allow him to be in a camp anyway. Trayvon McAlpin got hurt right at the first of spring. He will not be in camp, but he's in really good shape. He's in, as far as where we want him to be. Cam Cantrell got hurt right in the middle of camp. He won't be back. Again, everything's going good. He's had a good summer rehab, so don't expect him at any point. Those three, and then one more, Matt Young with his back. Those four will be out for the season. The two that will get back week one, Nate Floyd, he hurt himself during camp, and Landon Hullaby. Both of those guys really are way ahead of schedule. We just don't want to push anything for just to push stuff. If we were playing a little bit sooner, we'd probably push those two because they really are in really good shape, but they won't be in camp. All six of those guys will be here. They'll be rehabbing, lifting, getting everything, to where we're ready to go. Everybody else, there's a couple probably not at full speed that we're working through, but they're going to be out on the practice field. When we're in pads, they'll be in pads, and we expect everybody to be ready to go for that game one, besides the four guys I said that will be out for the year, and then we'll add those two whenever we get there. Really good depth. Really, really excited about the team that's going to take the field tomorrow. So I'll open up for any questions.
We'll go to Jared first.
Hey, Coach. In terms of the offensive line, Caleb Rogers, it seems like he's going to play Western right at one of the guard spots. But what about at the other three open spots? What's the competition look like? Who's in the mix as fall camps?
I love that word. That's one thing that's fun about going into fall camp is, competition just makes you better, and it makes sure that you're not complacent. And so I'm excited. We're actually doing a PowerPoint, and we want to make sure these guys understand it. So I'll start with Caleb first, and then I'll talk about the rest of the offensive line. But, Caleb's won the left tackle job. So now he's not competing. He's competing against the left tackle at Oklahoma. He's competing against the left tackle at Baylor. He's competing to be the best left tackle in the Big 12. And so we've got some PowerPoints to show him that we want to make sure everybody in this room, whenever they come here this afternoon, they understand that even though they might be the starter at Texas Tech, they're still competing against somebody around the country. But whenever you talk about the other positions, you've got Cade Briggs and Dennis Wilburn at center. That's a battle right now. I feel good about both of them. Cade is fully back. He had a wrist in the spring, so he didn't get to go through spring. Great thing about Cade Briggs is he's played college football, and so feel good. There's a battle there. There's a very healthy noise being talked by both of them of who's going to win that battle, and so excited about those two. At right guard, you've got Landon Peterson, who had a really good spring, and then we moved, if you recall, right at the end of spring, we moved Michael Shanahan into guard. He had a much better spring game. Probably the best practice that he had was that spring game, so excited about him. But one thing we are going to do, let me go to the right tackle. So right tackle, I feel really good at right tackle. Monroe Mills and Ty Buchanan. We finally got Ty Buchanan. He's gone through all the way through summer. He's a transfer from USC. He's a Texas kid and wanted to come home. And so there's a battle. The one thing that I asked Coach Kitley to make sure he's doing is that we don't pigeonhole these guys anywhere. From the standpoint, if Monroe Mills doesn't win the battle at right tackle, but he is one of our best 5, then he needs to go into right guard. Like when we get ready to line up, and it'll be a process, but when we get ready to line up September 3rd, I want our best 5 guys on the field. And so Coach Hamby's a great teacher, and it's his job to make sure those 5 are ready to go.
Go to Mason in the back.
Do you have a ballpark time frame on when you want to name a starting quarterback yet, or are you still playing that with the competition?
So we've kind of broken this camp up, like these first 7 to 8 practices that we're calling mini camp. It's going to be practice-wise is not the thing that's different than what they've done, but the amount of time that the NCAA allows us to meet is different than what they've done. We're going to make sure that we take every bit of that to get ready. And so the first week, that mini camp, and then we'll start going into the way we practice during the season. So the week before our game week, we're going to have a mock week. I would like to go into that week knowing who our quarterback is. So we're going to go 2 scrimmages. We'll have some live periods during practice, but we're going to go 2 full scrimmages and get after each other. And so after those 2 scrimmages, that'll lead us into the mock week, and that's where I'm hoping that one of these guys takes it, again.
Is that kind of set in stone, or do you want to, if someone stands out before then, are you ready to name a quarterback before then?
I want to get through 2 scrimmages. I want to give them a true, we've had a good spring. Now they're way ahead in the playbook, and so there's no excuses. I will tell you, and I stick by this, we're not going to rotate quarterbacks. So it's not going to be, I've never done that, I don't believe in that. But I do believe if there's something that a quarterback does that is really special, that's his package of the week, then that guy's going to have times in the game that he goes in. And the good thing about all 3 of them, they're really good athletes, and that doesn't mean they're going in at quarterback. You might see a couple of them, at different times at receiver and be true receivers. And from the standpoint, that's going to put a lot of stress on people, because the first thing you do when you put a quarterback in the game that's not at the quarterback position, oh, watch out, he's throwing the ball. And, Donovan is 6'5", and on the goal line, that may be a pretty good option to throw the ball in the back of the end zone to Donovan Smith.
Go to Nick in the middle, then Stan right after that.
Hey, Coach, I want to talk about Lubbock Fungi and just what have you seen from him since he's been recovering from his shoulder injury, and what are your expectations for him this coming season? Man,
I'm fired up. I'm really excited. I told Emmett and Kit, you got to almost think of him like a transfer, because you didn't see him in the spring, and then all of a sudden you see him in the summer, and the way they changed the rules, we were able to do more stuff with him in June. And so we were out there, being able to go through some stuff with him. And, man, he's a monster. We need him to be really good, because he is one of the guys that can really take the top off of it with a deep ball. What I was impressed with him, I've known Lubbock for a long time, I recruited him, is I was really impressed with his ball skills. You know, I think he's spent a lot of time. Emmett challenged our receivers to get 25,000 catches in before camp on the jugs machine, tennis balls, and of course with the quarterbacks. And, you know, he's done that. And I'm really impressed with his ball skills. But he's a guy, you know, he'll line up there when the first offense goes out tomorrow for the first snap of practice. He's going to be lined up, you know, on that right side with the starters, you know, at outside receiver. And we need him to have a really good camp.
Coach, looking back at all the years that you've had coaching under your belt, what does this time of year feel like to you personally?
Man, it's like Christmas. Like, it really is. Like, you know, I love the spring because the purity of you're not getting ready for anybody. You're just trying to get better, you know, at what you're doing. But the great thing about fall, you know, the coaching aspect of preparing a team to go play somebody else really kicks in. And so, you know, it's like Christmas. You know, I've been waiting for this moment. I mean, November, it seems like yesterday whenever I first got here, and it's gone really fast. But, you know, I've been waiting on this moment. I don't want to rush. I've said this. I don't want to rush to September 3rd. That's the great thing about camp. You've got a lot of things that you can do from now to the end, so I don't want to cheat the process of how good we can become as a team. But I'm really excited. I mean, this is, you know, just this right here. I texted one of my buddies a while ago, and I said, you know, my first camp media day at Texas Tech, pretty special one. So, Chris, you probably know that guy, so he's pretty fired up about the Red Raiders.
Go to Kale on the second row.
Hey, Coach, could you just talk to me a little bit about Joseph Plunk and LB Moore, Tascosa guys? I know you know Joseph really well from his dad's days. So can you just kind of talk about those guys for me a little bit? Well,
I'm excited. I don't want to miss anybody, but just right off the top of the head, we got 4 Amarillo guys, you know. But with those 2 you asked, Joseph Plunk, you know, we call our walk-ons. It's kind of this badge of honor. We call them the Dead Rabbits. If you know anything about gangs in New York, they were probably one of the toughest gangs ever, and they were made up of everybody. There was no, you know, like this distinction. And he's kind of the leader of that. You know, he won that in the spring of just his effort. What was great for me seeing him, he had one of the best spring games defensively that's anybody out there. I mean, he was a tackling machine, and he's earned his way on some special teams. He's a coach's kid. You know, he understands that locker room. First time I met him, you know, that's what I told him. I said, you know, you got to be a voice in the locker room because you understand how important that locker room is. So I'm excited about him. LB, I want to say, Matt could tell me exactly, but he's almost 265 right now. Has put some really good weight on. We're going to play him at outside linebacker. And that outside linebacker defensive end is really important. You know, Tyree Wilson's over there. Miles Cole will get a little bit of that, but he'll get more inside. But that's a guy that's going to have to be able to play a 9, a 6, a 7, a 5, and a 4. And so he has really worked hard to be in a good position. You know, a little slowed up right now with a hammy, but is in camp and, you know, ready to go. So we're excited about those 2 guys, and man, they're great kids.
He was bragging he's 262.
Okay, there you go. It's fun to watch those guys right now talking about their body weight. I talk to them a lot about just getting stronger, and the weight will come. Not because a lot of times they'll put a lot of pressure on themselves about the weight, and they've really bought into that. I mean, whenever right now Jack Tucker walked in here. Our offensive lineman, you know, he looked like a totally different kid that y'all would recognize from just the bowl game. And so you could see those guys really putting some good weight on.
Right to your left.
All right, Mariko Hahn. Baylor Cup, he recently got nominated for the as a preseason Mackey Award, like pricing to look at. I know you talked about earlier how the tight ends will be a really big part of this offense. I was wondering if you could just speak on that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, you know, we have a really good tight end room. I mean, I don't want to just discount or just name 3, but, you know, the 3 guys that are the leaders, that's another healthy competition that we're really talking about. But, you know, Henry Teeter, you know, he's the kind of throwback. You know, Henry, he actually says I'm a fullback, you know, and so he's kind of that throwback tough guy. Mason Tharp had a phenomenal spring. You know, if you turn on the tape from practice 1 to the spring game, how physical he became. He's also like 255, which is a true, I don't know what he was listed last year, but it's a true 255 right now. And then you throw in Baylor Cupp, who's a vet, who brings a lot of experience, very intelligent. I mean, he has picked up the offense really quick, and they play off of each other. There's a healthy competition in there. You know, Kitley's got a quarterback room he's never had. He's got a tight end room he's never had. He's in there, you know, the mad scientist that he is, you know, he's in there talking about his 12 and 13 package. You know, I don't know the last time that Texas Tech has ever seen a 13 personnel on the field that's not on the goal line, and that, you know, and that's something that I'm really excited about, and it says a lot about those three guys and what Josh Cochran's been able to do with them. He's a good one, man.
Coach, this team has said that they are learning to love football again, that in years past they've lost that love of football, but this coaching staff has brought that love of football back. What does that say about your staff that you've brought together and bring this team coming together to love football again?
Well, you know, I think anytime you're in the community, you run into one of my guys, you know, you're going to see real quick. They've got infectious attitudes, and we put this staff together from the strength staff all the way through, very purposefully from the standpoint of how they love players, and then not only that, but how much they love football and are willing to become really good teachers, because you think about throughout your life, whenever you've been around a great teacher, you usually really love that teacher, you know, and so they're great teachers. They have a great attitude whenever they come in, and then it just rubs off. I tell them all the time, especially my strength staff, I'll ask this question, how lucky are we? And of course, they're always fired up, and I said, make sure the players feel that. So I want to make sure our players feel that we appreciate how much we have the opportunity to be here and get to coach them, and I think that rubs off. And then the other thing, too, is, you know, I believe in shared adversity and shared success, and so that locker room's been through both. A lot created. You know, we had a really good deal a couple weeks ago with the program. And so I think they're coming together. And we work really hard. But when you're excited about your work and you smile a lot, then you can work a lot harder, and it's not that drudgery. Now, I'm going to tell you, let's see what they see whenever they see tomorrow's schedule. And they're going to find out, you know, how much they really love football. But it's fun. You know, it's fun. I think there's a lot of buy-in, and we're going to keep pushing that. You know, this whole camp, I was going one way with this camp, and then I've just fallen in love with the captain. If you haven't watched it on ESPN Plus with Derek Jeter, I've totally revamped all my PowerPoints, a big PowerPoint movie clip, stuff like that, and, you know, been working on that. And Eric and Chris have helped me make sure that we've got everything clipped up. But I think them seeing locker rooms like that, it's only going to help them to keep that love of the game really even tighter and get ready to play.
Go to Phil, then back up to Mason, and the front row after that.
Coach, the air raid's always been known as pass, pass, pass. And the evolution over the last few years, we're seeing a lot more run, run, run in the offense. You got some good runs
Right.
in the running backs.
Well, that's one thing, again, whenever we first sit down with Coach Kitley and he was talking through, like, who our best players are, you know, and we have a really good running back room. I mean, we've got two young ones, you know, a true freshman has come in. I think he's like 208, Bryson from Tyler. And then Cameron Valdez had a great spring. I'm excited about him. He kind of brings a different change of pace. But the two-headed monster, you know, those two guys with Taj and Sharadrick, I mean, they're vets. They've really become leaders of this team. They're pushing the offense. And that was one reason, you know, going through all this, hiring Kitley was like, look, you tell me who our guys are, I'm going to get them on the field and we're going to score points. And so you can't take two of your better guys off. There are going to be some 20 personnel, but they'll play off of each other. I think early playing them that way, you know, will be where we can keep them healthy. You know, both of them have kind of been banged up at different times. You know, Taj started off great last year against Houston and got banged up and, missed some time. So we've got to do a good job with that. But we'll also ride the hot hand. If one of them gets out and, is just having one of those days that you see running backs have, then, we'll make sure we get those guys going. But it's one thing that Kitley is, really behind, and I've asked him, like, man, you can't not put the ball in their hands, because it's only going to open up everything else. But it also balances out. If we're throwing the ball really well, then, you've got to defend the pass. Then the run lanes are going to get bigger, and those guys are going to make people pay for what we're doing.
Go to Mason again in the back.
You've been mentioning how you guys have been building strength and muscle so far this year. A lot of the offensive line mentioned that they've been doing cross-training like hot works and boxing. Is that just exclusive to the offensive line? And what's so important about kind of doing things outside of football to build strength like that?
Well, as far as the cross-training and some of the boxing stuff, it's been the offensive line. Some of the other guys have jumped in on it, but it's been the offensive line. Our brand is toughest, hardest working, most competitive team. It all starts with toughness, and I've never been on a team to where you're trying to win at a high level and your O-line and D-line are not tough. And so Coach Hamby, that was his idea. He has done it in the past. I'm sure at one point he was probably doing it here as a player. And so we've tried to just continually create toughness and confidence in that offensive line. And they bought into it. Now, I don't think they wanted to buy into it after the first day because they were pretty tired, and they were probably like, what are we doing right now? Why are we not pass setting? But they truly bought into it, and I think you're going to see a difference just from the spring until game one of how much more physical our offensive line is. No, I didn't, but I need to.
Go up to Lance and then Don right next to him, right after that.
Just real quick on the Amarillo thing, Eric Gray, I guess, reported today or yesterday. Where do you plan on him playing? And then my second question is, you mentioned the gift that was given. What impact have you seen that take hold of your locker room with the gracious gift from Cody Campbell and those guys?
So Eric signed yesterday. We're going to play him in the offensive line. Right now, just depending on the depth, because we have a good number of guards and centers. And so he's going to swing between center and guard. I project him through his career to end up being a center for us. A very athletic kid, tough kid. So I'm excited that he's here. We knew he would be, just had to work through some stuff. And then with him, I think athletically will really help us at some point in the offensive line. Whenever you talk about the Matador Club and name, image, likeness, I've said 100 times that I'm behind it. I think it's great for athletes. I think it was a rule that was a dinosaur, even probably when dinosaurs were that was a rule to where I've never understood to where you couldn't make money off of the brand that you're creating. And so I thought it was really, really special for those guys to get involved. What helps us is our locker room has a base, and there's nobody looking around that's never played in the red and black and saying, what's this freshman doing? What's this guy that's transferring in doing? And I think you're going to see a lot of things over the next few months in college athletics, that there's going to be a lot of chaos and no telling what kind of feelings people are going to have for each other in that locker room. And that was one thing with us. I didn't feel like that could enter that locker room and us get to where we wanted to be. So we have a healthy locker room. They were excited. Man, it was pretty cool to talk to a couple of them. One, because I know them really well, but like Jordan Brown, his mom, she works 3 jobs to make sure he's a student athlete. And talking to her on the phone, she's crying. Really cool moment. James Grondo coming to me and saying, Coach, what that man and this fan base did for me just changed my life. And so that's 2 walk-ons that are going to play Jordan for sure this year for us, and it's great to see them get rewarded.
Go to Don.
Joey, you told us about the timeline for the naming quarterback. What's your timeline for naming number 3?
That'd go all the way through. That would go all the way through because, first of all, I want to respect Kobe Minor. That's his number. And I told him, I said, I'm not trying to take your number. You're just going to have to be the brand. And so I want to make sure he has every bit of that. If you don't know, I come from a mentor that you had to earn a single digit. They weren't handed out. They were the brand. If you look at the team from Waco, there was an All-American wearing number 8 last year. That was a second-round draft pick. He earned that number 8. He wore 24 as a freshman. Number 2 that was drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the 3rd round, he earned that number 2. I think he was number 26 as a freshman. And so with name, image, likeness, with the way it is today, when I first came in, I was going to do that. I was going to take everything. And I was talking to a couple different people, and like Krishan Merriweather, who wears number 1, he goes, Coach, I'm going to earn my number, so if you want to take it, I'm good. He's a very confident young man. He's a very tough young man. And so I was thinking through it, and I was like, well, who's doing different things? Baron Morton's got some stuff that he does with his number and shirts and different like that. And I was like, well, let's just go with this. I started talking to Team Luke and talking to Tim and just fight like Luke. And I started thinking about this guy's the brand. This kid's the brand. I wished I knew him. And so his favorite number was number 3. And so right now the number 3 is up for grabs. I want to wait till that game 1 going in to game 1. We'll probably vote that Sunday ending camp. And, Kobe's going to fight his butt off, man. He's had a good summer, and, he's really vying for a lot of playing time. But, there's some guys out there, 2 off the top of my head. I'm not going to have a vote, but Henry Teeter and Rabbit, those 2 guys are everything that's right whenever it comes to being tough, hardworking, and competitive. So I could see them wear it.
And one other question, just looking at what y'all posted last week about when y'all were at the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? The
program.
The program, yeah.
So that was it's a company that's made up of ex-military special forces. You had a couple different people in there, Navy SEAL, and one thing that they do, it's team building and it's leadership based. And it's a drawn-out deal. It's really cool for them to spend 2 days, and they can tell you everything about your team and everything about every player. And this is my 3rd year to do it. The first time I ever heard it, I said, how can y'all do that? And they go, well, Coach, if you choose the wrong guy, you just lose games. If we choose the wrong guy, we die. And so we have to do a really good job of distinguishing who's a leader, who's not a leader, who has influence in this team, who has a voice in this team, how we use that voice. And so they were put through some physical stuff. They were put through a lot of anxiety. I don't know how many of y'all in here are not good swimmers, but we have some guys on this team that aren't good swimmers, and they still had to get in the pool. We have some guys on this team that couldn't swim, and they still had to get in the pool. We just had to make sure that, they had a guy that was with them that was really, really good swimmer, and they took care of them. But you could see the anxiety level, and the anxiety didn't leave, but the more they trusted each other and the more they started working with each other, started, bringing the anxiety down. Like I said, I truly believe you're built through success and adversity, shared success and adversity. It only brings you closer. And so you can't wait for September 3rd when something bad happens. You've got to find a way to manufacture that. And so that's what the program does. It's very stressful, but it's a lot of fun to watch. We'll do it again. We're actually going to do it going into spring break next year. We've already got it set up in our team commitment week. And so really excited. Those guys are awesome. What's great about those guys too is they give all their information. And so they're going to follow some of our leaders throughout the year. And if they're struggling or they're having a hard time, then they have a contact that they can talk to and say, this is what I'm dealing with today, or this is what the team's dealing with. How can you help me? And so that was really huge for us.
Go Jared and Chuck to close.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the impact on the locker room the Matador Club gift made, but what about in recruiting in combination with the $200 million investment in the facilities?
Well, whenever we've talked to our recruits, of commits, of course, but, we still have a couple spots that we're working on. It shows how serious Texas Tech is to support their student athletes. As far as the new facility, I think, at different times people have said we'll have the best in the conference. I've been to a lot of schools. As a high school coach, I travel around the country at a lot of places, and I don't think there's going to be anything like it in the country. It's going to be one of the most unique facilities, and so it shows the commitment that this school has. And it's not that we're talking about it and we're going to put a bunch of bulldozers out there. Like, we're going to play OU, and then that next day, that Monday, it's going to get knocked down. They're ready to go. I mean, it's constant planning. So that's really good that we can show that. And then I'm going to tell y'all know this, and you probably talked to her, but like, our impact to the Matador Club was big. But whenever Texas Tech, the Matador Club, Level 13, when they signed the women's basketball team, I mean, that was one of the biggest news stories in the country on all sports stations. That really shows you how serious we are about this fan base and alumni taking care of the athletes, because it's easy to say, I mean, I know I've had to deal with the stereotype all my life of like football, but whenever you have the women's basketball is the same as the football, and it shows you how the commitment, I mean, that was really big. Anytime you have Holly Rowe retweeting anything, whenever it comes to that, it's always a good thing, because she's such a positive voice whenever it comes to sports. And it was really cool to see her, step out there and show. And y'all don't be shocked that it didn't send shockwaves through football locker rooms. I mean, if you follow anything in this conference, you had some different teams tweeting stuff about that, not about us, and so it's pretty amazing what this fan base and this alumni base has done for this university.
Coach, could you just give us an overview and your thoughts and how you feel about the defense going into camp? Because you got an awful lot of number of guys coming back.
Yeah.
It feels like it's going to be pretty strong for you.
Man, it's good. It's exciting. The guys before me, they did a good job building that roster. Where I think we have an advantage whenever it comes to that is that I think Tim DeRuyter is so multiple on defense that he really can take the roster and put those guys in positions to where I think you're going to see different guys that weren't ready to play maybe in the defense before. They can really help us in the defense that we're in. We're going to be very multiple, 4-2-5, 3-4. You're going to see five secondary guys on the field a lot, but we'll also get bigger. When we play 12 personnel teams, the K-State and Iowa State, Baylor, when they bring their 2 tight end sets, then we can get bigger because we have guys that can do a lot of different things. The thing that I'm excited about all of us to see is what Tim can do. He has coordinated a lot of different type players, from Air Force to A&M to Cal to Oregon. So he's kind of seen it all, and he's seen probably every roster you can see. And so he's put our guys in some really good spots to be successful.
And then finally,
From going back to right when you were offered the job to where you are today, what has surprised you the most, just from a global standpoint, about whether the program, the town, the people, the players, et cetera?
The love for this university. I've said it a million times that, I really thought I understood this place. I did. I really did. I thought I understood it. I'd been out here so many times. And I don't think people really understand. I take the Cactus. Like, just take the Cactus. And how many people love Lubbock and West Texas, and how proud they are to live out here, and then for somebody to say anything negative about who we are, just how they're going to gravitate and grab onto it. Y'all, I don't have to tell you the story. You can figure it out. But, I mean, if you take the Matador Club and the little Cactuses and the funds raised from that, I mean, it was a lot more than a lot of people were doing with NIL, just that. And we just pissed some people off about a cactus, And so, I mean, I thought I really knew. And the type of person I am, I'm very excited. I'm a unique coach because I haven't been a lot of places, and there's a reason. It's because I really dig in. I feel like I've been in some great places, and it just gets me up in the morning, and it gets me even more excited being at a place like this, that it's just not me that loves it, but it's everybody in this room, it's everybody in this town, everybody I run into. And then I don't think people understand the power of this alumni base. There's nowhere in the state of Texas I've been in any school that there hadn't been a Red Raider, whether it been an administrator, a coach, a teacher. Whenever I'm in any town, there has been a Red Raider, and it's not like that everywhere else. And they're not just hard workers. They're not just people that work in the oil field. There's doctors, there's lawyers, there's pharmacists, there's dentists, and you can't find that anywhere else. You can't find that anywhere else in a lot of universities, or any university that has that type of impact and that type of alumni base. So I think that's the biggest thing that surprised me out of this place.
All right, thanks, Coach. We'll have Coach Drury, our next second.
All right, y'all asked DeRuiter some tough questions.
Good, Don? All right, we'll start off with Carlos.
Who'd you pay off?
Just nobody. I just raised my hand first. Coach, I guess Coach McGuire already spoke about it, but in terms of, I guess, the practice schedule, I guess what's the philosophy going into, before the regular season? Is it more physical, or I guess what are some of the things that you were able to incorporate into what is going to be the first season under Coach McGuire?
Well, I think he's got a tremendous plan. Coach's been doing this a long time. I know maybe not at the Power 5 level, but he's been under a guy in Coach Rule that everybody highly respects, and we've got a model that's very similar to what Coach Rule did at Baylor, and the success can't be argued with. We're going to start off the normal NCAA acclimatization period like everybody. We're going to have physical periods, and we're going to have periods that aren't going to be physical, as they allow. But this first week of camp, and I don't know if Coach alluded to it, we're going to be in a period of camp where it's going to be a grind. We're going to make guys stress. It's going to be football for a long time of the day, and I like where our guys at, where we are at. Our veterans picked up our package very well in the spring. During the summer, they had their player run practices, and the reports back to us is they got the young guys up to speed, and I'm really excited to get with them and see the changes, and their physical changes are apparent, but see how quickly our guys are playing and can pick up our new stuff.
Hey, Coach, heading into spring, you mentioned the importance of developing a solid two deep. Now, heading into fall, do you feel like y'all have done that, or is there still work to do?
There's still work to do. I think on defense, we've got a fairly solid about 1.5 deep. And we've got some new guys that have joined us this summer, both freshmen and transfers, and they're going to have opportunities to get in that 2 deep. But I like, like I said, that first 1.5. I think we've got some guys that can play. We've got not enough depth for what we need, but we've got a good start on it.
What positions do you think need the most help in terms of depth?
It's at all 3 levels. Up front, we brought some guys in. They've got to come and step up. At the linebacker, we've got some young guys that I think are going to have a chance that we're excited about. And on the back end, we brought a couple of freshmen and then a transfer in.
We'll go to Mason over on the right next.
Hey, Coach. You saw a lot of successful edge rushers at Oregon, Kayvon being one of them. That said, how much potential do you see in a guy like Tyree Wilson at that position?
I've really been impressed with Tyree. Now, we've got to get him to where he can play consistently and stay healthy. That's the big concern for us right now. But he's a guy with the physical traits that I think can be a Sunday player. He's a big, physical, long edge, the kind that if you're drawing up what you want in this package, he's what you want him to look like. He's got edge rush ability. He's got size and length to play inside, and he's done it. A year ago he played a lot of, the 4-eye position for them, and so he gives you a lot of flexibility as a defensive player caller to get, from one front to another. I think, he's poised to have a tremendous year, but as coaches, we've got to draw that out of him, and he's got to produce, and I think he will.
Malik Dunlap hit, I think, a little over 23 miles per hour on the radar the other. Where's that compare, I guess, to guys that you've seen before?
That's right up there. 23 miles an hour on the GPS is as fast as any of the fast guys I've ever been around. And to see the progression of where guys have come, that's been really impressive to see what Lance and his staff have done with those guys.
So my question is, who would you say out of your defense so far has really got that dog in, or who are you looking to have like that dog in them to make that extra effort, bring that grit?
I think there's quite a few guys that showed that in the spring. One of the things we look for in the fall is consistency. One of the guys I think that has been that way has been Krishan. He's been a leader for us. He's been a guy off the field, on the field. We're trying to make him be a little bit more verbal in his leadership ability because he's got a lot of it. He's got the respect of our players, his teammates, and our coaching staff. I think he's going to be clearly, one of the leaders of our team this coming fall, and if he'll keep on the path that he's been on, he's poised to have a heck of a year.
Hey, Coach, you talk about LB Moore and his progression and what you expect out of him this season. Is he going to rotate? Just kind of talk about overall on LB.
Was impressed with LB in the spring. For a young guy, I think he's got a lot of the traits we're looking for. He's got good length. We got to continue to put some more size on him. But he's a guy that's physical enough to set an edge in the run game. He's got some pass rush ability off the edge. And he's athletic enough to drop in space. He had an interception in one of our sim pressures during the spring. And he had to actually go up and catch it. It wasn't just thrown into his belly, which some of the guys at first, that's the only way they can catch it. So I think he's got all the tools that it's going to take for him to be a good player, and I think he's got a really, really nice future ahead of him. Yeah, no, that was impressive. I don't know if he played high school basketball or what, but he did? Okay. He looked like it on that particular play, and just watching him move in space, I think he understands just spatially, how to play the game.
Tim, Keon Blankenbaker, when y'all were looking at him on film, what did you see that you felt made him a fit for your need?
Well, we looked at him as a guy that could play in the slot. We thought he had the ability also to be a corner, and we're a little thin at corner. Bringing him in and his position flexibility was a big thing for us. That and the fact that he started and played in a ton of football over the last 3 years on a very successful defense. Getting him in, meeting him, talking to the coaches about him, what kind of player he was. I thought he'd be able to come in and really fit in with our culture, not draw away from it, but jump in and be one of the guys right away. And his position flexibility, I think, is going to really help us and give us a chance to have him either boundary safety, the star position, or nickel.
Also, one more real quick. Joey has seemed extremely fired up about the potential of Joseph Adedire. What's your thought on him?
Well, when I was at the other school, he was on our recruiting list. We liked him coming out of high school. We ended up going a different direction. But when I got here and saw him in the weight room, I was disappointed that he couldn't go through spring ball because he was a guy that looks the part. And now that he's been able to lift and run, he's getting thicker. His attitude is exactly what you want. He's all in. He's a guy that wants to maximize everything he does, and he's got some nastiness to him, which you like in a defensive lineman.
What's the most important intangible or quality a player should have when they play defense for you?
That's a great question. Probably the most important is just grit. As a defensive player, you've got to, whether you're up front, taking on a blocker all the time, you've got to be able to strike, get off, and get to a play, knowing that every now and then they're going to make a play, have that mental toughness, that grit to say, you know what, they're not doing it again. To me, the guys that have been successful are the ones that have the athletic ability, sure, the size, but it's that grit that makes them the exceptional players, that can overcome a little adversity and still make plays when it counts.
You see the impact, Joey McGuire, his enthusiasm. Can you take us into how that has impacted these players that you've witnessed?
Yeah, from my perspective, it's a little hard to describe. It's kind of like one of the things you almost got to be there. But I saw it. In my career, I've gone to places that maybe traditionally didn't play a lot of good defense, in a couple stops. And so I can remember a couple of schools ago walking into that first meeting with the defense, and a lot of guys kind of hanging their head a little bit. They finished in the bottom, 10 in the country, and you just didn't see the confidence. You didn't see the swagger that it takes on defense. And I got here a little bit after coach because I stayed to finish up the bowl game. I didn't get here till January, but as our guys were coming on campus, I didn't see that downward look. I think they had a kind of a nice bump coming off of the bowl game win. But as they lifted with Coach Lance and his staff, as they went through spring ball, you start seeing our guys develop a little bit of a swagger. We had some success in the spring. I think we've got a really good offense that challenges us every day. By no means do we always have the upper hand, but our guys saw the potential of what we can do when we play fast and we play hard. And you just see that confidence in the way that Coach loves these guys. They just get enthused. They know they have someone that loves them, believes in them. They have a coaching staff that's going to coach them hard, but love them even harder. And they're going to have guys that play for each other, which you don't always have at every place you go to. And so to see the effect of what Coach does, it's awesome as an assistant coach to know that he's got that effect on him. He's got that effect on our community. I mean, people know how genuine he is, how much he cares, and how fired he up is for this opportunity and to get us to where we need to go.
I want to do one more with Chuck. We'll end it right there.
Coach, what attracted you to this job in Texas Tech?
A couple things, but the biggest thing was Coach McGuire. I knew about Tech. I'd been in this league before, so I knew the potential here. I knew the fan base was unbelievable, so I love coaching in places like this that have just the fanatical fan base that are starved to win and want to do anything it takes to win. But the bottom line was Coach McGuire and the guys that I knew he was going to put together on the staff. Kenny Perry had reached out to me prior to me coming and to see if I was interested. And it didn't take me long to think about it and say, absolutely. And then my daughter was here a year and a half ago under Coach Wells' staff, and so I had been out here and and kind of followed them a little bit. I was actually at the Houston Baptist game a couple of years ago when I was at Cal. The Pac-12 had shut things down, so I said, let's go watch some football, and saw my daughter out here. But to see, the facilities, the fan base, the support, everything, I thought, man, this is a heck of a place, and I'd love to be a part of it.
Do you think the defense is better coming into this year than people think?
Well, I guess it depends on what people think. I think we're going to be pretty good. So I can't read other people's minds, but I think people are going to see a defense that's going to play with their hair on fire. They're going to play with a lot of confidence, that are going to play extremely hard, and they're going to play for each other, and they're going to reflect what our head coach is all about. And that gives me a lot of confidence in we're not going to be perfect by any stretch, and no defense I've ever been around has been, but we're going to play extremely hard, which makes up for a lot of ills. And if we can take the ball away like I think we're going to have the ability to do, then you really have a chance to be good.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right.
Thanks, Coach. All right, we'll start. We'll put a basin in the back to start with Coach Kelly.
Coach McGuire just mentioned that he wants to wait until probably about 2 scrimmages deep to really name a starting quarterback, and that he doesn't want to do any sort of rotation with them. In your opinion, how's that time frame work for you, and what do you hope to see someone kind of step up to do to get that starting role?
Yeah, that's Coach McGuire and I've had that conversation. That's kind of what I've been accustomed to in the past as well. When I did go into the seasons with the quarterback battle coming into it. You kind of have that mock game week 2 weeks out before your first game, and that's kind of when you start installing the game scripts and some of that stuff for that first opponent. And so that's the track that we're on. Who knows? There could be something crazy happens and you don't do that, but that's definitely our plan, and that's what we're looking forward to.
I wanted to ask about Lubbock Fungi and what you've seen from him since his recovery from his shoulder injury, and what do you hope to see from him in this camp and in this upcoming season?
Yeah, we got to see Lubbock we got to do some routes on air and some of that stuff maybe the last two practices or so in the spring, and he brings a different element that, for sure. I'm very excited about Lubbock. As y'all know, he's a specimen, 6'3", 210, 215 pounds. He'll clock 22 to 23 mile an hour on the GPS. He brings a different element to the game, like I said, so I'm very excited about him. You're going to see him out there kind of on that right side, that Z receiver we call it, and we'll be using him in a lot of different facets. Very excited for him. I know he's excited too. So it was hard just being out there kind of watching and getting the mental reps all the time instead of getting actual physical reps this spring. So I know he's fired up to get back out there, and I know for a fact our team, our staff, we're all fired up to get him out there as well.
The evolution of the air raid has come a long way from when Hal Mumme invented the thing. Pass, but there's an element, the run has become an important part of the air raid over the last few years. How do your running backs fit into that and your philosophy?
Yeah, we're going to use our running backs here. Again, my job is to find the best 11 players and put them on the field. And I'd be lying to you if I told you that right now Sir Roderick Thompson and Taj Brooks aren't two of our best football players. Now, does that mean they're going to be on the field every snap together? No, but we got to find those certain personnel groupings to get those guys on the field. Those guys are going to be heavily involved in the pass game as well. There's a lot of things that we'll do in my offense that's not a run, but really it's an extension of the run game. Some of the perimeter screens and some of those things, getting them the ball at the backfield on some of that stuff. So those guys, and not just those two. We got a couple young backs as well that we're looking forward to seeing this fall. But that's kind of our two-headed monster right now, and you're going to see a lot of those two this fall.
Next to Jarrett.
Coach, can you give us an idea of the competition at X and Z, and who do you expect to play a lot this upcoming season?
Yeah, our receiver room is pretty stacked right now, and so you're going to see guys moving around a lot. They're going to be not always at X, not always at Z, Y, whatever you may be, but right now, day one, you're going to see out there at X, you're going to have Jaron Bradley and J.J. Sparkman kind of battling that one out with Chad Thompson as well out there. And we moved him out there, and he brings a different element because if y'all know him much, he's about a 4.3 40 guy that can really blow the top off. And then we have over at Z, you're going to see Loic and Brady Boyd as well, and Coy Eakin, young freshman out of Stephenville. You're going to see Tyler King out there sometimes, Jordan Brown out there sometimes. You're going to see a big mixture of those guys kind of going in and out and being at different positions throughout the fall.
Next to Kale, followed by Lance.
Hey, Zach, One of your proteges, Ben Arbuckle, was recently put on the 30 under 30 watch list, 247 Sports. You talk about what that means to you. You've groomed this kid since Houston Baptist days, and being 26 years old in a first-year OC, that's quite a compliment to him and you.
Well, it's more of a compliment to him. Coach Arbuckle, everything that he's at right now, he's earned that. And I wouldn't be here without him. He did a lot for me in my career and kept me on the right path and got me straight during the week and all those things. So can't say enough about Ben and what he's done for me. And I know they're excited up there at Western, and I know they're going to be very successful this year offensively, and he's going to have a big impact up there.
Coach, the running game is only as good as the offensive linemen obviously perform. You had Cole Spencer able to transfer over with you from WKU. How big of an impact is that, having a guy who's able to be in your system for quite some time, able to come here?
Yeah, it's huge. First off, he's an older guy, and so from day one, he's able to bring in a different leadership quality. Like you said, being able to know the system, know the coaches, know how we operate on a daily basis. But then a guy that's been all conference for 3 years, he's a 23-year-old guy, just been around the block a lot. So being able to have him, the continuity there, being able to come into some of these young offensive linemen and kind of bring them along with him and kind of show them the ropes, if you will, it's been huge.
Hey, we talked to the quarterbacks earlier today, and it looks like they actually do get along. They claim that, but no, that quarterback room seems very strong. How important is that for a football team to feed off that, even though they don't know the starter yet?
It's huge. I mean, like you said, we have that room. That's one of the first things that I said to them when I got here. I said, look, we're going to have a quarterback battle all spring, all fall. But at the end of the day, we're in this thing together. So at the end of the day, our individual success means nothing without the team success. So team success comes first. And so we're going to love each other. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to root on each other, root for each other. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not trying to compete against them every single day. But it's been huge. And I think the team feeds off that as well. And I think the team knows right now, we're in a quarterback battle. But at the end of the day, the team feels very confident that no matter who we run out there on September 3rd, we're going to be able to go win a Big 12 championship with any three of those guys.
Zach, when you were talking about the outside receivers a moment ago, I don't think you mentioned Trey Cleveland, and I think somebody mentioned him possibly moving inside. Where is he?
So he's going to start out at inside for us, but he's another guy, man. He's a jack of all trades kind of guy. He played majority of outside receiver for us this spring, but we kind of felt like after the spring was over, we felt like he maybe could get us a little bit of a boost when we do go some of our 10 personnel and some of our empty sets, maybe in the slot a little bit. Again, my job is, if we're going to go 10 personnel, who are the best four? I don't care if they were outside receivers, if you will, or inside receivers. Like I said, you're going to see Trey Cleveland inside, outside. You're going to see Tyler King, a young freshman who can just blow the top off inside, outside. You're going to see guys move around. Brady Boyd is another guy. You're going to see literally every position. And so, again, we're going to just try to find the best four when we do want to go our 10 personnel sets and get those guys on the field.
And what's your early impression of Baylor Cup and what he's going to bring to you?
Yeah, I mean, he's a physical freak for sure. Coming here in the summer, you get to see him, physically run around. He runs great ball skills, great presence out there too. The one thing we haven't got to see yet is the pads on. But he did have the clips at Texas A&M that we got to watch, and clearly he was, I think, the #1 tight end in the country coming out of high school there out of Brock. Very, very excited about him. He brings a different element to the game for sure.
All right, we'll go next to Mason, followed by Sean.
Coach, there's a lot of complexities to your offense. How did you ease these guys into it, and was there kind of a eureka moment where you felt like they had it down pat?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is don't overthink it. That's my biggest thing. There's a lot of wrinkles in some of that stuff, but if you just understand the basic concepts and the basic principles of the base stuff, it really makes sense. And so I think our guys came in open-minded, very excited about what we were going to do. And there was some small carryover a little bit from Coach Cumby's offense, but there's also some stuff that they called a play that we call, and so now they're having to revert it into what we're doing versus what they were doing. But man, they did click. I think we got to about spring practice 12 or 13, and I was like, okay, these guys are really ready to go. And that's when we kind of started to really open it up and be able to do some more of the wrinkles and some of that stuff that the offense brings to the table. You know, early on we were trying to keep it more base, just really trying to get them confident in the base concepts, the base scheme, base formation, some of that stuff. And towards the end of spring, and then now we're really looking forward to going into fall, because they had all summer where they were doing some walkthroughs and some of that stuff, and we were able to really dive in deep into some of the more fun stuff, if you will. And I think those guys are excited for that, as we are too, heading into August here.
Fun, Coach. The players were talking about how much fun it is, how much more fun it is to play football again, and how they've fallen back in love with football. What does that say about the offense? And, you know, not saying it's backyard football and throwing it deep, but what does it say about the offense that they've gained that love of football again?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I mean, I think the love of the game coming back starts with Coach McGuire and just his energy that he brings every day. And I think that was apparent when we first got here, when he first got hired. Clearly, I think the fan base understands who he is every day, all the time. And when you got a head coach like that brings the energy and that loves you and wants to take care of you every second of the day, I mean, why don't you want to be here? I mean, our coaching staff down this hallway says every day, we get to do this for a living, and this is just a blast every day. And then offensively, I mean, I think it's my job as a coach too. You got to have, I mean, if you're not having fun doing this, this is really not fun, you know? And so you script certain plays and certain things like that to make sure the guys have fun. You know, you may throw a tunnel screen to a guy that they would never think gets a tunnel screen, and the whole team gets fired up when he catches the tunnel screen, stuff like that. But man, we're all here. We're a big family, and that's what's so great about it. And I think whenever you're around your family and you love each other and you just really genuinely have fun being around each other, everything you do just makes everything that much more fun.
Coach, could you kind of give a brief synopsis of each quarterback and what you see as their strengths?
Yeah, you know, I'll start with Tyler. You know, Tyler Shuck, again, I've said it a lot. He's kind of the veteran. You know, he's played the most snaps, been around the block more. He's older. He's just seen a lot more, and that does play a major key with kind of what we're trying to do offensively as well, because I put a lot on their plate, and a lot of that stuff is pre-snap adjustments and some of those things, and so that's kind of where he's at. You know, he's also a great athlete as well, and that'll kind of lead me into the next one. You know, Donovan Smith, as we know, 6'5", 240 pounds. He'll run 21 laser GPS. The dude's a freak, big arm as well, and you know, he brings a different element to the game. Even more so running the football and being able to control the clock and some of those things. And then you got Baron Morton, who's like the young gunslinger, you know, and I think the sky's the limit for him. You know, I don't know if you guys got to run into him today. He's put on about 15 pounds since spring, and I think that's a huge thing for him, and that was something that I've been telling him he's got to get on. You know, he's got to get bigger, more physical, stronger, all those things. They're just going to help him in the long run, and so he's done those things. And so all those guys bring the running element to it, because they're all really good athletes. They can all you know, extend plays in the pocket and then move the chains with their feet as well. And you know, they're all just really good players, and so that's why I'm in a really good situation right now.
For you personally, how surreal is this to be sitting here today so quickly after your years here when you were a grad assistant, not making very much money?
Yeah, very surreal. I've said it many times, it's a blessing to be back. There's no other place I'd rather be back home here in West Texas at my alma mater, getting to coach. You know, I just get chills just thinking about September 3rd and being back on the Jones with 60,000 plus in the stands. It's going to be awesome. So very surreal. Again, just blessed and thankful for the opportunity to be back home.
We'll wrap it up right here with Carlos.
Zach, going off of Chuck's question in terms of the quarterbacks, you've obviously mentored and been part of different guys that have different attributes and stuff. Is there a prototypical quarterback that works in a Zach Kitley offense, or are there certain things or facets that you look for in a quarterback that makes them successful in your offense?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest part, as any coach, you've got to find what are they good at, and then you got to cater to their talents as well. You know, I was with my quarterback the last 4 years, Bailey Zappi. Well, Bailey Zappi wasn't who he was year one that he was in year four. And you know, he starts to grow in certain areas, and so you start to cater to those areas as a coach as well. And so I don't think there's necessarily like, hey, he needs to have this, or this. You know, clearly you need to be a leader. You know, I think like the toughness aspect, you know, that no matter what the situation is, they're out there, they're leading the team, all those things, you know, battling through some injuries too. You know, to me, that shows a lot of grit and a lot of determination. And when your leader's doing that at the quarterback position, that's going to let everybody else behind you follow. So as far as like, you know, physical skill traits, You know, I think you cater to who you have, but there's some stuff that, you know, in my opinion, you can't coach, and that's, like I said, some of the toughness, some of the leadership ability, some of those things. I think you either have those things or you don't. And again, very fortunate to be here because all three of those guys have those qualities, and it's good.
Okay, thank you, Coach. We'll wrap it up right there.
Thank y'all.